maybe you're talking to a total stranger, you can just say "Привет, привет," or I don't know. Everyone, how are you guys doing? I hope you're all doing fabulous. My name is Tony. If you're new here, if you're not, welcome back. And as you can see from the title, I'm going to talk about my trip to Russia. I was there from December 25 until January 5th, and if you've been following me, you could see my previous videos of my daily activities in those 12 days in Russia. And of course, it wasn't perfect, though I'm not complaining. It was a dream come true to be able to get to Russia at this time of, uncertainty. I don't have to remind you, but yeah, so I'm going to talk about what I like and dislike about Russia. So before anything else, please don't mind the hair. I've cut my hair again after my trip because the tips had gone so dry. I think it was from the cold, so I had to cut it myself, and I cut it too short. But anyways, let's go back to the topic. So where do I begin? Do I begin with a list of my likes or my dislikes? So let's start with what I disliked about Russia. Okay, so please be reminded that this is just based on my personal experience. Don't be harsh. Okay, so anyways, the first thing that I didn't like about Russia were the Russians. I mean, not really dislike them. It's just that I feel so intimidated by them because they aren't very friendly or approachable, and they don't smile at you. They're just not that accommodating, and I've heard stories about this. But really, they are nice once you get to know them, once you get to approach them and talk to them and ask them for help or whatever. They can really be helpful. It's just that they just mind their own business when they're out there, so you don't expect them to be too friendly to strangers or whatever. Because this one time when we got lost in some towns in St. Petersburg and we can't find which bus to take, and then we just asked like a babushka, and it was getting dark and really needed to get back to the city. So we approached her and asked her, and she didn't know any English, but then she talked to a few ladies there, same age as her, and then they were looking at the map on the bus station and they were talking to us, but they didn't know any English, so we couldn't understand them. I really appreciated that one lady who took the bus with us and guided us and told us where to stop. Though we didn't get all her instructions, it got us closer to the city. We were able to go back to St. Petersburg in one piece. And then there was this one time we were at a Russian restaurant, and I was scared of the girl at the counter. I really thought that she was shouting at me, but then when I understood what she's trying to say, she was just trying to make me choose between, or what filling do I want on my chiburik or some bread, like if it's cheese or meat. And I thought she was shouting at me already because I was holding up the line. But really, she didn't mean anything. So that's it. I guess Russians are hard to read, so if they don't talk or smile to you first, then just let them be. The fourth thing that I disliked about my trip was that I wasn't able to taste a lot of local Russian foods, and I cannot even name them properly. So most of the time we couldn't order them, and I only realized almost at the end of the trip that I just have to screenshot a picture of the foods that I would like to eat and then just show it to them, but it was too late. So who knows, someday I'll be back and I'll be able to even taste their beef stroganoff. And then the third thing that I disliked about Russia and during this travel is the cold. In St. Petersburg, I think I almost got some frostbites because I've got some burns here in my fingers. It turned dark and it was very cold because I wasn't wearing my gloves all the time because I was taking videos, taking photos, and I was just wearing gloves on this hand. And I think the coldest that we've experienced was -22, and that's during the daytime. So normally, even if we want to go out at night, it's so disappointing to go out because again, we have to cover up, layer all the clothing, and then it's just very cold, especially in St. Petersburg. But when we got to Moscow, we get to enjoy the evenings. I think the weather there was just around -4, 7. I think the most was -10. And it was snowing all the time. And I think when it snows, it's not really cold that much compared to when it's not snowing. You tell me, comment down below. And while you're at it, just subscribe to my channel, okay? Then the second thing I didn't like about Russia is, of course, during this pandemic, you know, a lot of restrictions are in place, and Russia is no different from anywhere else in the world. There are a lot of restrictions. We had to take our PCR test at least within 48 hours upon our arrival in St. Petersburg, and the most depressing thing was that we didn't get to enter most of the cathedrals in St. Petersburg because we didn't have Russian QR codes, which are the codes given to anyone who's got the Russian vaccine. I don't know where that policy is coming from or if they forgot about us tourists, but I think it's different from region or cities to cities. And I just found out while I was Googling it later on that you can get the QR code if you have if you buy a SIM card or a local number, and then just do whatever with your current vaccine status and then get the QR code online. I think it's there, it should be there, but it doesn't apply to all the cities in Russia, so it could be different from city to city again. So that's such a headache. And yeah, that's so depressing. I didn't get to go inside you know, the ice cream dome cake that's similar to the one in Moscow, the Church of Our Savior on Spilled Blood. I'll put it here. And then also we didn't get to go to inside the Winter Palace, the Hermitage, because the tickets were limited and you have to get your tickets in advance. And of course, we didn't really plan this trip, so we didn't arrange any activities before we left, or most of it, I guess. So it's hard to get tickets. And then of course they would ask you for the QR code again, and of course you need to get another PCR test done, which we did. That's why we were able to enter Catherine's Palace. Thank God we were able, because I really wanted to see that. From all the places in St. Petersburg, that's where I wanted to go. And the last thing that I disliked about my trip to Russia was the language barrier. It was so hard to communicate with them. I tried to learn a few words here and there before our trip, but I've learned that they have an informal language and a formal language, just like South Koreans. And like Privyet, it's hello. So generally we just say hello to anyone. Maybe you're talking to an older person, or maybe you're talking to a total stranger, you can just say Privyet, Privyet, or I don't know. I was just so hesitant to do that. And that's the reason why we didn't get to eat a lot of local Russian foods, because if you go to the local Russian restaurants, no one would understand you. And if you want to get instructions, they would just ignore you. And it's just so hard. And a few people we've encountered knows how to speak English, like in some Western restaurants and all that. If you go to the supermarket and just the local coffee shop down at the corner, you will really have a hard time communicating with them, and it just makes me feel bad that I can't communicate their language. It's not that I want them to speak in English to me. I feel bad because I can't communicate to them in their language. And we're done with the ugly part, so we move on to the beautiful part. So what I liked about Russia, what I love about my trip, and I really want to go back there because of these reasons. So the first thing is their infrastructure. I mean, the buildings are so beautiful. I've only been to St. Petersburg and Moscow, and there's a vast difference between the two. St. Petersburg has more historical buildings and all that. It's compact. You can just walk around a few minutes from this historical place to that historical place, which I liked about it. And even if we weren't able to go inside most of the famous places there, we took the city bus tour and we got it for 3 days. And I think we rode the bus from end to end around 4 to 5 times, and that's how much we like St. Petersburg. But it's the traffic was heavy, but it was okay. And Moscow is another thing. It's more of a metropolis. It's one of the biggest cities in the world, of course, but still the history is there. Beautiful buildings are there. The Red Square, I love it. I love the historical places and all that. And the fourth thing I love about Russia is, even if it doesn't matter if we were in St. Petersburg or Moscow, but I really feel safe around these cities. One night we were out and we were walking around some back alleys of St. Petersburg, and there were a lot of people who were drinking and or maybe drunk, but they didn't really bother us. So I really feel safe there. And like the whole trip, I only saw like 2 or 3 beggars. I don't even know if they're really beggars. In Germany, I got my phone stolen, and in Austria also. So I've had my phone stolen twice. But in Russia, I felt safe brandishing my phone here and there. And yeah, that's what I like about Russia too. And the third thing that I liked about Russia is, though Russia is expensive, especially in Moscow, I guess, but you have a lot of options. You really have a lot of choices, and it's not too expensive to eat on these fast foods. And there are a lot of coffee shops, small coffee shops that sells coffees and donuts. The best donuts in the world are Russian donuts, trust me. Okay, I'm confused now. Anyways, I have 5 reasons each. I was saying my 5th, my 3rd, my 4th. Because my phone is running out of battery and I'm trying to do this quickly and end this. So yeah, so don't mind me. I'll just put in number 1, number 2 when I edit this video. Okay, so the 4th thing that I loved about Russia was the Christmas or the New Year celebration, the decorations. Like, they go all out in St. Petersburg or Moscow, but I like the decorations more in Moscow, or maybe because there were a lot of places that we can go to and have more Christmas decors on the streets, on houses, on like every corner is celebrating the holidays. I know they don't really celebrate Christmas, and when we got to Moscow, it was going to the New Year. It's nice with the snow and the Christmas decors and the lights, and you know, there's just celebration in the air. It was so cold, but the cold didn't really matter in the end. Okay, and the last reason that I really love about this travel was I like it that there are lesser tourists. Even during the city bus tours in St. Petersburg and Moscow, we really can't tell if they're tourists or not, or they're just from Russians from different countries, because you know how big Russia is. Maybe they're on a vacation to St. Petersburg and Moscow. And when you're in crowded places, there were a lot of families together, like the children are out, and they're so cute, bundled up. And yeah, it's like we were living with the locals, even if we were in the center of Moscow, the Red Square. There was a Christmas market there, and a lot of families were out. So I like it that I experienced that with the local Russians and not with a lot of tourists. Nothing against tourists, but it's better if you experience your travel with the locals. We finally got to the end of my likes, and there are more things to like about Russia, I guess. And I really want to go back. I really want to go inside those cathedrals and palaces that we weren't able to get into. And I also want to go to Kazan, to Ekaterinburg, to everywhere. Russia is huge, and it's on my top 5 now. It's on my top 3. I can't decide between Mongolia and Japan, and I'm sure the 4th country that I wanted to go to is North Korea. The 5th is South Korea. I've been there, but I also want to go back there. So yeah, Russia has its own charm. So it's really cold, but the beauty of the place shadows whatever negativities are around. So yeah, I think I've dragged this on for too long. Thank you very much for watching till the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed this one. So if you plan to go to Russia and you have learned something from me on this topic and share with me what your likes and dislikes about Russia. So thank you again, and I hope you have a good one. Stay safe and stay strong. Bye.